This week's episode features conversations I have surrounding the future of our industry and how advisors can leverage the many digital platforms available. We talk with Barnum's CTO, Stefano Martini, about how advisors can evolve to become digital, the future of FinTech in our field with Paul Tyler, and how Barnum is solving the data needs of our advisors with Barnum's Director of Business Intelligence, Marwan Khoury, and the CEO of WealthFeed, Sam Kendree, about how to identify money in motion prospects. Lots of future talk in this episode. Enjoy, and thank you for listening to Small Steps, Big Wins.
Chief Technology Officer, Barnum Financial Group, Stefano Martini.
Let's go to digital. You know, one of the things I saw in the industry very early on in my career was there's really a couple of ways to grow your business, right, for an advisor. And what we tried to do is continually make it simpler. And one of the things we were on this journey of here that you helped take to this whole other level is what we're calling, B2. And what B2 really is for all the listeners here as you're, driving around, and I'm sure Stefano will give it a better definition than I will. But what B2 is to help advisors to know when the right time to call a client is, to help us with being a fiduciary, and continue to grow your practice with less clicks and more opportunities on a day-to-day basis. But you have this vision of where it is today, where we're going in technology, and talk about, some of the things that come to your mind when you think about technology and in particular B2 and where we're going.
Yeah, that's a big one to unpack. So yeah. I think first, really important when we talk about digital in this space, where are the boundaries of that discussion? And in my core belief system, our industry will always require human beings. The complications of a financial plan, of helping a couple or an individual define that plan, understand what it means to the people that they love, is not something you can easily digitize.
Yep, I agree 100%.
So that's I've experienced advisors that get a little skittish when we talk about digital. It's like, wait, you're taking a bit, and it's like, absolutely not. The core part of your job of helping simplify and convince people to take action is always going to be at the heart of the human being. It's why I think we do a great job. Paul, you do a fantastic job of attracting, recruiting, retaining people who have incredible EQ, who are great at simplifying complex issues, who are great at building trust. And unfortunately in our industry, as soon as we get them in the door, we drown them in process and paperwork and bureaucracy. And that's why, Paul, you know better than anybody that our industry has, I think, somewhere between 11 and 14% of advisors that start make it to their fifth year. At Barnum, we're proud to say we're at 44%. Yeah. And so when we think about our digital evolution for an advisor, it's largely focused on that. It's largely focused on how much assistance can we give? Can we prompt the advisor to take action with, to help simplify their day, to help make sure that the impact they have on their client is maximized? And so that was the B2 concept. The B2 concept was to build a platform for advisors, not a CRM, but a platform for advisors that would be driven in analytics / artificial intelligence over time, in easy to use technology and experience that would enable the advisor to identify things in their in-force book, in existing clients that need action, that otherwise would likely fall through the cracks on a busy day, both in the client's lives and in the advisor's lives, to take action so that client has a better chance of achieving their goals. So what B2 is at its heart is we collect data. Data is our oxygen. We collect data from CRMs. We collect data from insurance carriers. We collect data from data aggregators. We collect data from platforms like InvestNet and Wellscape, and outside sources, home values, et cetera, et cetera. We put it through what are very carefully tested, very carefully curated algorithms that, because of the relationship we have with our advisors here at Barnum, we can test. We can actually watch if they work. And those algorithms make suggestions to the advisor on what they should be doing with their clients based on milestone birthdays, based on milestone events, based on product performance, all of that simplified in one tool. And we're very proud that we have nearly 500 subscribers on the tool now across 10 agencies, 11 agencies soon. So we feel like our sample size is concrete, it's legitimate, and we're very proud to say that we're actually impacting advisors, we're actually impacting their clients, and that's what excites us. That's what wakes us up every day.
Yeah. So when you think about that, and so you're probably over 1,000 users when you include the regular firm, the firm Barnum, in there. When you
the 500 is including that population, yeah. So yeah.
Okay. So when you look at that, what do you see as the future of that, and what are some of the comments you're getting from FAs using it?
So in terms of future, we're pretty ambitious with our goals. Our ultimate objective is to create the best financial planning, best financial advisory tool out there, period, bar none. And ultimately, maybe even client-facing, where clients that have lost their advisors, we know 30% of life insurance sales are left orphaned. You know, that's an industry term, right? Yeah. A client that doesn't have an assigned advisor to them, where this could be a tool where they get on and actually match with an advisor. In addition to all the tools that we're planning on deploying to help advisors maximize the existing opportunities in their books.
So Stefano, when I've seen you just demonstrate, present, you give some great stats on why this is so important, right? You've used things of how many people don't have an advisor, how many people don't have this, or the need for insurance products in our industry. Give me some of those stats that you talk about.
Sure. Well, I think the first stat is, and any insurance executive, is out there using this on the regular, is that we are at a post-World War II low. So since 1945, the percentage of Americans that own life insurance is at an all-time low, which is a terrifying statistic for people like you and me, Paul, that love our industry, love what we do, get anecdotes all the time, testimonials from people all the time, thanking us, thanking our advisors for stepping in, helping them create a plan, execute on that plan, and protect their families or the ones they loved, or both, hopefully. So that's like the first quote that I'll offer is, what's happening in our society, what's happening with the services that we're trying to offer that has that terrifying statistic. And we dug into that problem, and what we found, it's really a data problem, that advisors candidly have an easier job at client acquisition, where it's a first-time relationship. It's the first time you met somebody, you can ask the awkward questions, you can note them down, versus the servicing side that requires, there's an expectation you already know me. When in reality, 3 or 4 years have passed, you haven't checked in with that client, and it creates an awkwardness that advisors shy away from when, number one, they haven't kept up with the client's lives, and secondly, their book has changed, right? The interest rate assumptions in that product, or the cash value in that whole life or VUL has changed. So getting the data behind the scenes to aggregate in a way that can be a crisp, cohesive conversation with a client that you should already know is so challenging that advisors have to really categorize their clients and focus on a subset of them.
Yeah, so I think that what's interesting is you bring up some really good points. If they're not scaling fast enough, right, and if they're not really building a service model behind this, they won't be able to be successful. So you're actually pushing that data to them.
Exactly. And what we're doing is, historically, we found advisors can only keep up by hiring more people.
What was the number? 100? How many people?
Oh, just in general, teams.
Oh, okay.
We find most successful advisors have a large staff.
Yep. And
that staff is assigned to doing all sorts of things, including shuffling papers and calling carriers and trying to collect data, put it in a clean way. And not that the staff doesn't have a very important job, continues to have a very important job positioning that advisor to have the best possible meeting with that client. But a lot of the data gathering, the consolidation, that's where technology can step in. The second part of it is, no matter how good an advisor is, and I'll point to a couple of examples that we've encountered, they're somewhat limited to their experience. You put 100 advisors together and you see some real magic happen in terms of how they approach clients, the ideas they have in terms of minding the book. So B2 is a place of collaboration on top of it all, where advisors are constantly telling us, have you thought about this insight? Could you gather this data that might help if you spin it this way? Give us a suggestion that it would take us months to calculate.
So let me spend a minute on that. So they're actually coming to you and saying, this would be a really good reason to reach out to this client. It's a great opportunity for the client to do something different. And obviously the advisor benefits from that sometimes. And you're getting those from multiple people. And then you and your team is taking them and making those into, I know you use this word tiles, into a tile that basically makes that insight come to life.
Exactly. So our tagline is built for advisors by advisors. And that we use that to really as a shorthand to say that nothing on our platform was architected by a bunch of software engineers and just rolled out. These are ideas that came from advisors, tested by multiple advisors, given the thumbs up, hey, go build it. We add in a little science to be able to do it in a scalable way. Sometimes we add in some data that the advisor or the community of advisors hadn't thought of, and then we present it back. And then we see if it works. If it actually works, making an impact on clients' lives, then it sticks. Yep. If it doesn't, we tweak. If it ultimately doesn't, even after that, take it off the shelf.
Yeah. Well, what's amazing is when you think about, I've been in this business now just hit 32 years. And when I think of all the products that I've sold or I've watched advisors sell, there's so many changes to them and so many nuances. And what you're doing is you're taking that all into one place, dumbing it down, and then giving that advisor that data there, which is incredible.
Head of Enterprise Marketing and Marketing Innovation, Zinnia, Paul Tyler.
It's hard sometimes to find people that, get what the street does, right? And I always, on my short list of people in my travels, you're one of the people that always I looked at that way, that really truly got it. And so now, I look at the FinTech space, and I know that's where you're spending a tremendous amount of your time and trying to bring a lot of different things, connecting the dots again to the industry. So kind of give us high level or as deep as you want. What's going on and what are you doing? And I'm so interested to hear it.
Well, thanks. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, it's a fun time to be in the business. And I tell people that all the time. And it's interesting. We've kind of gone through these phases where you say, wow, this is a really cool time to be here. And then wait a few more years and things keep changing in interesting ways. I think I heard a talk that I think Bezos gave way back. I think this was early 2000. He talked about these flywheels. And everybody, I mean, you hear people talk about that a lot today. But I think there's an interesting question. Our business, I try to always ask myself is, what will stay the same, and what's going to change? Okay. And there's some things in this business that just won't change. People really want to talk to people. Okay. Yeah. I don't think, you're ever going to see a huge amount of insurance, especially the kind of insurance we're selling, being done with an avatar.
I agree.
I don't think it'll happen. Agents are always, the biggest problem we have, the agents have is, but I want to find that customer. Hasn't changed. I could kind of go through a number of kind of interesting problems. There's a reason why, we never saw insurance agents have billboards, along I-95. It doesn't pay.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a reason why, for the same reason, doing Facebook ads and Google ads just won't work out financially. So it's interesting. You say some things stay the same, some things don't change, but things that do change is, well, how are you going to find your customer today? I think increasingly it's happening online, right? It used to be I'd walk down the street, knock on a door. A lot of agents are still doing this today. But more and more, I think the customer creation, the prospect creation is going to happen online. And the interaction is going to happen more progressively in an online environment. Still be a person, but well, if you're my client, how did I find you originally? I bet I met with you once, but I bet I may not have met with you in person the rest of the time we've got in a relationship. So I think there's fundamentals of this business aren't going to change, but I think the how we find them, how we return, the expectations are going to change dramatically. I think FinTech is going to be a huge part of this.
Yeah, it's interesting as you're speaking. I'm thinking, our model here is digitally enabled, advisor assisted, and
Yes,
I think that's the key. And I think it's probably sped up due to COVID, the FinTech space, and just it's amazing that companies had to move so quick to get processes online to do business, and the invention of Zoom. And, I know it's been around, and we were probably doing 15% of our meetings via some sort of online technology. And now it's like 95% of our meetings. But let me dig in a little on the second part of it, right? So I get the prospect and I get the digital part. I agree with you about face-to-face being needed. And I had done a show last week, and it was about financial planning and about advisors becoming life coaches, right? So that's the future of where the industry is going. But what I'm still puzzled by is so many companies are coming out with these FinTech models to try to gain customers. And how's that working? Is it working? And I think back to, when I first started, mail was 5% of the industry. People did business through mail. And I feel like that digital experience is still like 5% of the industry now. So do you have more color on that for me?
yeah, I think, as you know, home offices are great in coming up with solutions they think are solving problems you have.
Yeah,
right.
true.
I've been guilty of this. I've got this great solution. Oh, is it really solving a problem?
Yeah.
So I think, you still get that. I think all the time where you have people who are not connected with the field, haven't sold a product, don't understand how to sell this product, will invent things that probably cost a lot, may have worked a little bit, but probably aren't delivering the results that you're seeing today. And listen, a lot of companies, I think, that have tried to go digital all the way are saying, but okay, where's the ROI coming from?
Yeah.
So our personal experience has been, there are people out there. There are people who want to buy direct from a company, and we've enabled that opportunity. Sometimes they, met with an advisor, liked the product, came into our website, looked at this thing, but they didn't like the advisor, and they'll come in and call us. Now that probably happens 1% of the time. And so we've got the capability where we've got somebody who can come in, artfully kind of figure out, well, who are they? Who are they talking to? We'll help them out. We'll give the commission to the agent, so they're not going to lose if we figure out who this person was.
Yep.
Could we survive on that, Paul? I'd be kind of hungry at this point if I had to do this as a standalone business.
Correct.
Now, that said, I'm seeing a lot of agencies putting their agency out in person, building their brand, bringing the people in for maybe one meeting, and then building a business around this. But it's very different, I think, if you've got, boots on ground or boots virtually on ground. I think this is a model that I think people are going to crack this code. Okay. But it's not going to be I don't think the carriers are going to be doing it. It's going to be people like you.
Yeah, you're going to need some entrepreneurs. And I think that's one of the interesting things. And, I'll come back to marketing in a second, but when you think about what I found is advisors come in as advisors. If they can make the jump to a business owner and then an entrepreneur, that's how they truly grow. And what you're talking about is firms doing that. And I think that's one of the challenges the industry is facing. So when you don't have the distribution model like that, then you try to figure other ways because the need's so great, but then you try to figure out other ways to distribute our products and grow the business, So it's interesting. So
Director of Business Intelligence, Barnum Financial Group, Marwan Khoury.
We're just getting to the next level of this. And one thing that I realized in this business was most companies and advisors did not have all their clients. We'll call it a CRM, but it's bigger than a CRM. They didn't even have all their clients in one place. So tell me, you get here and you have this different view of this industry. What did you see when you first walked in the door, and what were some of your early learnings that you had?
So let me take it a step back.
Yeah,
and
please.
It was 158,000 households. I remember till today.
158. So I was close.
You were close. So what happened is, first, I'm coming from college. I'm just learning what I learned at school. So I'm strictly like, okay, can I build this code? Can I make it work? I'm not thinking about the business yet. That's where you and other leaders in the firm helped me just to start understand the business. And now my goal, my mission has always been to solve business needs and to make sure I deliver. It didn't have to be the best code, but I had to make sure that it deliver. It makes everything simpler. So just a shift of just writing code to write code, and then to actually code to help our advisors. And I always tell our advisors, we're on the business of making appointments. That's what I tell my team. And that's what we have to work on. Because if you don't make appointments, you're not going to be able to help people and you're going to be able to sell. So it just makes sense. So for the second part of the question, what was my view of the industry? I felt it's not mature yet. It's not ready yet. And what I mean by being ready, one, the technology has to be ready. Two, the clients have to be ready. The carriers have to be ready. The vendors have to be ready. Like if you didn't have APIs at that time, like you can really integrate data fast enough. If the client is not ready to accept what's happening, they're just not going to use it. The worst part is to build a nice software and nobody uses it, right? So everything had to come together, and I feel it's coming to that point, and it's just going to keep getting better from here on.
And when you think about it, you know, we at the time had to build our own software. We were in the process of building our own software to manage our in-force, because I believe that when we looked at it from a business need, that there was nothing out there in the marketplace at that time that can house and do all the things we were trying, that the vision had. Did you feel that way when you got here?
Yeah, 100%. The biggest challenges we had when we first came in is we had like almost 40 different CRMs that are completely separated. We had a major CRM for the firm, so we get the in-force feed, but then what the advisors are doing, what the call center is doing, what marketing is doing was all disconnected. And the biggest part is a lot of advisors just went on their own and they're putting their notes out there. And we couldn't really build a whole, I called like a donut of like the vision of what are we doing with this client to know, to give the best communication and the best approach how to handle with these clients. The first task you asked me to work on was to move from what we've built in-house as CRMs into Salesforce. And that was like giving my kids away. It was like very painful, but you trained me through it and showed me like the growth mindset of it and how that's going to help us. You asked me 3 questions. Can we send emails at any point? Can we connect to the CRM from anywhere in the world? Can you ask me 3 or 4 things? I'm like, we can't do it. And especially not with like 1 or 2 people, like we would have to hire an army.
Yeah.
And then that helped me just go beyond that barrier. And then we started moving to Salesforce at the time in 2013. And I remember you told me one day, we finished migrating all the databases, we do all the heavy lifting, and then we're going to enjoy the rewards. And after 10 years, 11 years doing this right now, I still feel like we're just getting started. There's so much ahead of us.
There is.
But we accomplished way a lot.
You know, and I think this is a great place for us to pause and talk to some of the industry leaders, the CEOs of firms or the teams that have big teams that are out there. Is I had this vision, and, you know, I kind of forgot what you just said about the 40 other CRMs. And we knew there's a word today that's running around, you know, business in general. It's called scale. And so we did a lot of research for probably 5 years to find a tool. We finally picked Salesforce as our tool and the vendor that we're going to, you know, be of choice. And by the way, just for all the listeners, that was a really hard decision, because do you build it and control it, or do you, you know, buy it and hope that the company continues to grow and do all the things? And it's a publicly traded company at the time, and it was, you know, the biggest out there. So looking back 11 years, we made the right decision. But then when we did it, now we have to get our advisors to buy in, not just buy in on the tool, but buy in on giving up what they had, because we can do it faster. So, and I remember you and I having conversations, and I said to you, it's going to take 5 years. And I think the key to the whole thing was we started with our best teams, and we got them to use the tool to grow their business from a sales perspective first. And then we got them to do all the other stuff. Is that kind of how you saw it?
100%. And it was like a big move from your end because it was a big investment. And that was one of my objections. One of the things I had to list to you is like, it's not cheap and you need to build it. And you were willing to go all in. And that's something that also helped us big time because we need the leadership to be on board. And that's one major step there. Then, of course, we went after the top advisors, top teams. We piloted the teams and we started moving one team at a time because we don't want to disrupt business too. We're doing this as they are trying to continue to serve their clients and help their clients. So we had to do it while we were actually working.
So we're rowing the boat and we got to keep rowing and still
we couldn't
still change the way the direction is.
Chief Executive Officer, WealthFeed, Sam Kendree.
Let's unbundle WealthFeed a little bit because there's a lot to it. So why don't you tell them what the product is, and then let's take it in each part and let's talk about those each separately.
Yeah, for sure. And, taking one step back prior to doing that, so I was a financial advisor in Chicago for a firm called Chicago Partners Wealth Advisors, great firm in Chicago. And I managed all of our West Coast acquisitions. So, we had about 4 that we transacted during my time there. And every single one of them really kind of focused around organic growth. So that was kind of the first, step to creating WealthFeed was, first realizing how important organic growth is. And the second thing, and I'm sure that, you can relate to this, Paul, being in the industry for so long is, every new opportunity that we had on the business development side, they all came from some sort of money in motion event. So we didn't often, maybe once in a blue moon had someone reach out and say, hey, I want to ACAT over a $4 million trust for you to manage. It was often, hey, I just sold a business. I just inherited money. I just moved to Chicago, some sort of catalyst event that triggered them to need investment management, financial planning, estate planning. So kind of taking in those 2 key themes of organic growth and money in motion, we really married those together and created WealthFeed, which helps advisors do 3 things. It helps them identify net new money in motion opportunities in their local area. We help them enrich current prospects that they might have from other sources. And our third platform, which we're really excited about, helps them kind of monitor their client base and their prospect base and notifies them, in real time of any money in motion that's taking place. So again, really kind of being that organic growth platform that helps on all sides of new business development.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think what would be really helpful is, those are 3 really big areas. So let's start with number 1 and let's go more deep into it so people could actually understand and start to get their minds around why they should work with WealthFeed.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So when I was in Chicago, my highest converting prospect was someone who went to my alma mater, which is Gonzaga University in Spokane, Washington. Someone under the age of 45 who had just moved to Chicago. If I could get in front of someone who kind of fit that criteria, I knew I had a very high chance of winning the business from them. But the issue was, back then there was no platform for me to be able to identify those prospects in real time. So that's exactly what our Discover platform does, is it allows financial advisors to come in and really filter down and identify their niche prospects that have some sort of money in motion event based off zip code, city, state, county. They can filter by alma mater, occupation, job history, net worth levels, income levels. So really giving them a very powerful tool to identify their highest converting prospects. So that's kind of our Discover feature.
So it's really like when I first started, I actually had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, Richard Wildman. He built a whole thing on target marketing and he sent us to I'm dating myself here, as you said, being in the industry a very long time. You made me laugh when you said that, but I'm dating myself. But when I did it, he sent us to the library and you had to go to the library and do all this research and find your target market. So what you're doing is not only are you getting their target market, but so when you gave your example, let me just make sure I got this, 45 Gonzaga, moved to Chicago, but then did you add a money in motion event to that?
Yeah, great question. So for that specific example, the money in motion event was moving to Chicago.
Got it. So that was so technically that's a new mover in theory.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Thank you for listening to Small Steps, Big Wins. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
All opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions their respective parent companies or affiliates or the companies with which the program participants are affiliated. Investments or strategies mentioned in this program may not be suitable for you, and you should make your own independent decision regarding them. This material does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. You should strongly consider seeking advice from your own investment advisor. Securities and investment advisory services offered through qualified registered representatives of MML Investor Services, LLC. Member SIPC, 6 Corporate Drive, Shelton, Connecticut, 06484. Telephone number 203-513-6000.